The year is 2005. Revenge of the Sith premiered in theaters. Gwen Stefani was still making music for some reason. And Sega released Shadow the Hedgehog for 6th generation consoles with very mixed reception. Well, since I had this game back on the PS2 back in the mid-2000s, and never actually beat the whole thing, a few months back I took the initiative into my own hands. I spent my time playing this game, suffering for your sins, goddammit. And despite how infamous it was, I found myself enjoying it a lot more than I expected. Now granted, that doesn't mean I think it's any good, and it's certainly not better than Sonic Heroes, and especially the Sonic Adventure games. But the way I see it, Sega saw how popular Shadow was with its target demographic, looked at a bunch of other popular things that the target demographic thought was cool, didn't understand any of it, mashed it all together into a video game, and it's a whole bunch of autistic synergy on display that I can't help but laugh at. Making a mainline Sonic game where you control a black cartoony hedgehog that swears and talks to satanic-looking aliens is like putting on a Mexican family fiesta that only serves gyros, and everyone smashes plates on the ground while the Tio squirts olive oil at you the minute you walk through the door. I mean, sure, you would think that if Shadow were to have his own featured game, it wouldn't be all chipper and saccharine like it was in Sonic Heroes, but this goes so far in the opposite direction that it doesn't feel or play like a mainline Sonic game, even though it is. Any and all attempts to expand upon the lore from previous games is a bunch of bullshit to answer the questions that were left ambiguous and are better left up to the player's interpretation. Also, with the way this game is structured, most of what happens doesn't really matter since all of the endings aren't canonical and don't flow into the third act in terms of continuity. So the game starts out with Shadow walking around in the woods trying to remember his past, when all of a sudden Pope Francis appears out of nowhere and tells Shadow that he has the answers to his memories. All he needs to do is collect all 7 Chaos Emeralds and hand them over to him. It's from this point in the game you can choose to either follow what Black Doom wants and side with the aliens, side with Sonic and the government of Station Square, or collect the Chaos Emeralds for yourself and you go your own way. But if you want to get the true ending, you have to beat the game 10 times. Unfortunately, due to how messy some of the levels are, beating each story is like taking your sister's virginity without her permission, because she kept taking your earbuds without your permission. Except, instead of looking back at you and winking like on the hub, she runs away and calls the police like a snitch. So if you already played Sonic Heroes before, then you should already be familiar with how Shadow the Hedgehog plays out, because they just recycle the same engine and take away the team-based mechanics in favor of guns and vehicles. You can still do a spin dash, and you can also punch people, but these things are incredibly nerfed to the point where I rarely found myself doing those things. Also, I hope you like the scavenger hunting levels from Team Chaotix's story in Sonic Heroes, because that's what the whole entire game is about. And there were 4 levels scattered across the roadmap that I'd never want to replay again. Central City has you running around past different buildings that all look the same. Cosmic Fall has you moving across falling platforms with weird camera angles, and it's never clear which path you're supposed to jump to next to get to the fucking computer room. Mad Matrix has you traversing through a bunch of wireframes like it's a maze, and it sucks, because there are 3 huge areas that you need to explore, and you have to guess which one will lead you to the path you're trying to go for. And I'll always forever associate Lost Impact with Taco Bell. Not because the artificial chaoses look like a bunch of supersized, gravity-defying Baja Blasts, but because spending nearly an hour looking for all 35 of them to complete the stage put me in a manic-depressive, diarrhea-induced coma that ended up making me rage quit and blast diarrhea out of my anus for a few hours. And I feel like it's my duty to remind you guys that you have to beat this game 10 times, with 10 different paths, so you will be replaying these stages at least 2 times whether you want to or not. Occasionally you'll be able to do 2 separate super moves that get built up by a meter, so like for example, killing gun troops in Westopolis will build up your evil meter, and for a limited time you'll have infinite ammo for the gun you found at the CVS Summertime Fun aisle over by the boogie boards, and be able to use Chaos Blast, which wipes out all the enemies on your screen. But if you choose to kill all the aliens in Westopolis, your hero meter will max out and you'll be able to use Chaos Control to skip parts of the level, and make it closer to the goal ring. And this is counterintuitive, because making it to the goal ring only benefits you if you wanted to go the neutral route. But then, why would you be helping the hero route just to go neutral? That doesn't make any sense. As strange as it sounds, Shadow and every other cartoony Sonic character don't fit in with the bleak environments, because they recycled the shiny character models from Sonic Heroes. And as a result, trying to put Shadow in a cutscene with Black Doom is like trying to throw a Puerto Rican in a room full of Sicilians at a cannoli convention. As soon as they ask him to bust out his machine gun, and all he can do is flash a pocket knife, they're gonna notice. Another weird inconsistency is that in Sonic Adventure 2, part of the moon was blown up, but in the opening cutscene for Shadow the Hedgehog, it clearly doesn't look like it was blown up at all. And the only explanation I can come up with is that Shadow is so black that the moon treats him like a boomer staring at a hood rat in such a way that the undamaged part is always facing at him. Anyway, the final story is some of the biggest bullshit ever. Black Doom approaches Shadow because he wants the Chaos Emeralds he collected. Then Sonic and his friends butt in and tell Shadow to give them the Chaos Emeralds instead. Then out of nowhere, two totally gay Nordic dudes with sunglasses teleport out of nowhere and tell Shadow to give them the Chaos Emeralds, only for Black Doom to take them from Shadow by force, use them to warp the Black Comet closer to the Earth, and doing that creates a neurotoxin that restrains all living beings on Earth, except for Shadow, because Sega didn't want to be racist. But don't worry, the Station Square housing market is booming with affordable down payments and low mortgage rates that will never shoot back up. Just sign this piece of paper before some alien who calls himself Black Doom tries to rule over humanity and use us as resources to keep his race alive. Go live the white-collar dream you deserve right now before we yank our low insurance rates up out your anus like those Ren and Stimpy cartoons you liked growing up. We won't foreclose on you, we're too big to fail. Shadow the Hedgehog is an illegitimate bastard child created by the DNA of both Gerald Robotnik from Sonic Adventure 2 and Black Doom to help cure Maria Robotnik of her deadly illness. And if you're curious about which one became the mommy,
I gave you life. Now, I'll take it back.
well, as it turns out, the bleeding heart liberals of the Station Square government didn't like the idea of creating a weapon of mass destruction in the form of an emo furry hedgehog. So naturally, they sent gun troops out to Space Colony Ark and shot some white bitch instead. Better beat her up with a broken stop sign and finish the job quickly before she says something you don't agree with. In the end, Shadow stops and defeats Black Doom, all the citizens of Station Square are saved, the General decides to let go of his grudge against Shadow, which never made any sense to begin with, and the game ends with Shadow moving on from obsessing over someone he'll never see again. Overall, playing through Shadow the Hedgehog is like being forced to go to the doctor to get your blood drawn and watch an intern poke 10 holes in your arm before finding a vein. Like, it wasn't a terrible time, but you wish that it could have been more efficient. No, I don't think this game is a masterpiece. I'm sure other people do, though, due to the great music, good graphics for the time, and it being easy to pick up and play. Really, if you grew up with this game and hated it, you should try it out for yourself again and form your own opinion. Shout out to Sega for making this game exist. Shout out to the 2000s for making edgy emo aesthetics exist. And also, shout out to my dad for nutting inside my mom in the mid-90s so that I could get this game for my 10th birthday. Oh, also, shout out to my mom for letting me live inside her for 9 months. That was pretty based. So I'll see you guys in the next review. Peace out.